evening, everyone. It's Good Friday. Here's praying that each and every one of us finds that completion when Christ muttered, "It is finished" on the cross. We pray for each and every one of us that we indeed see the end of bad days, not just as individuals, but as a country. You're welcome to the program, Your Health 360. My name is Jacqueline Adebija. It is a pleasure, it is a privilege, I consider it a privilege to be with you this evening. Thank you for joining us on this program. You know, I remember when we were in primary school and we were being taught the senses, the five senses that we have. And I remember thinking to myself when it came to when the teacher would ask which one is the sense that has the largest surface area, and I at one point I really do remember this because it stuck with me. Anyway, it is the skin. And probably because the skin has the largest surface area of all the senses that we as human beings have. And you understand what I mean by surface area. That means, like it's the biggest of all of them. We have the skin. It covers every part of us. And that is why today we will be taking a look at some common skin conditions, especially the type that affect Africans. And that, of course, that means Nigerians a lot. Skin conditions that are common. And there is one particular one that I would like to start with. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let me introduce the doctor that is with us this evening. I'm going to use this opportunity to welcome Dr. Andy Eburaja. Did I call that right?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's good to have you here, Dr. Andy Eburaja. Great to have you with us on Invicta 98.9's Your Health 360.
Thank you very much.
Talking about skin conditions, I mean, I cannot even move to the next without talking about whether or not what we call eczema in Nigeria is actually eczema. Now, I'll tell you that from especially secondary school up until now, you see people with different colorations. Their skin, the skin looks patchy, like one part is looking lighter than the other, and then they have some itching. And then for some people who have very sensitive nostrils, they'll tell you that there's a smell, an awful smell, especially when they get sweaty. And, sometimes this thing creeps up their neck from their backs. It catches your attention. And for some people, it looks like there's this other ailment that we hear that Michael Jackson had where they look, there's different colorations of the skin. But this one is patchier, one kind. And the question is that really eczema or we're dealing with something else? And if it is, why does it look different? And even the way it's described, it looks and it feels like it's a different thing when we see it on white people. What exactly is eczema and how should it look on African skin? Dr. Andy.
Thank you very much. When you consider eczema, most Africans feel what they take as eczema. We in the medical field, what we diagnose is as ringworm. So because of the color difference in our skin and the climatic change, the presentation of the skin discoloration differs among different races. So what they actually call eczema in the African context is actually very, very different from what eczema actually is. What we call eczema here is actually ringworm. Is circumscribed and looks like a ring with a little color differentiation. That's actually ringworm. But for the whites, it's more of like a reaction due to moist, dry skin and some other illnesses that they're exposed to. So there's actually a big difference between what we call eczema here and what is actually eczema. What we call eczema here is actually ringworm, while for the other race, it's actually related to allergy and some other things they're exposed to.
Okay, but I thought that ringworm, like you said, has it just like its name. There's this circular kind of, thing that you see on the skin when you have a case of ringworms. But in this particular situation, you just see the patches do not follow a particular or uniform shape. They're just there. You see it creeping up on the necks of a lot of people, either from the back or from the side. If the person is a dark person, you're likely to see a lighter brown. If the person is like really light, you might see even lighter skin. But it's like, imagine that you splashed big, big drops of water on someone and they're kind of together. That's the thing that I see. And I wonder if this indeed is what, because of course, ringworm, I would like to think that many of us have seen it before. It has this circular kind of shape and the discoloration is not much. But this one, there's discoloration. It's still ringworm. That's what it is.
Well, most of the times, skin disorders are usually something you have to have like a visual clinical diagnosis. So based on description, it would be very difficult for you to nail it and say, okay, this is a particular skin disorder that this person is suffering from, or this is what it is. So I'm sure maybe eczema might come in different contexts and mean different things to different people. But me growing up as a child, what we used to call eczema then was after going into medical school, and I was able to compare what I saw as a child and what I was being taught in school. I now knew, okay, what we called eczema then is actually ringworm, because I've already done like a visual analysis and know, okay, this particular illness or this particular skin disorder, growing up as a child, seeing it, and we all called it eczema. Now, after my course, I now found out that what it was ringworm. So we have like lots of skin disorders as we're discussing now. So for us to be able to say, okay, this exactly
what it
is, we have to have like
You
a
need to
visual,
see it.
yes.
Okay, so before we move on, let me quickly let us all know that we're live on Facebook. And so you can actually go on Facebook and drop your comments or questions so that I can, ask your questions along with mine as we go along. Or you could send your text message to the number 09072703270 so that, we get in as many questions as we can. Doctor, when we see children especially, this one happens a lot of times on their heads, and for a lot of children it's the boys usually that you see, but it's usually circular too, kind of. I know that the Yorubas call it lakpa lakpa. I don't know what other I used to know what the Hausas call it, but because I grew up here, but I don't have the native name for it, but it usually chops off the hair on the head of that child, and for as long as it's on the head, it will not go off. There were very painful ways of getting rid of it in those days, scraping it and the child crying and using kerosene and powdered sulfur. Really painful process. What is that? Is that also eczema, or is that also ringworm or something else? A lot of African children have it, especially those people who love, at that age where you're playing with a lot of sand and, just generally being very dirty. Is it also ringworm?
It's actually a skin infection, but as you mentioned, it affects the scalp, usually found among children, and it's also contagious. So that's actually a fungal infection of the scalp. It can happen in other parts of the body. So it all depends on the distribution, the part of the body where the fungal infection is affecting will determine its name. So medically, we call that tinea capitis. That's for the caput, the head. So generally, broadly, they are all called tinea infections, tiniasis. So, but for the one affecting the scalp, it's called tinea capitis.
What's the scientific name for ringworm? Is
The-
it also a tinea?
Yes, it's also a tinea. They're all group of infections. So it all
Okay.
depends on where it's being found. If it's found on the skin or the nail, on the hair. So the area is being found in the body will determine the name that goes with it. So because it's on the scalp, it's called tinea capitis. So they are all fungal infections of the skin, but this one actually affects the scalp.
The scalp.
Yes.
Right. So let's move on to something else that is very common for us Africans and then, of course, Nigerians, and that's acne. Is there a difference between what we call acne and pimples, or are they one and the same, just different terminologies?
Generally, so I know some people that decide to call it, some call it zit, they call it pimple, they call it acne. But the broad name is acne. That's what it is. So the pimple is almost like a component of the acne. But broadly, they are all acnes.
Okay.
Yes.
So why do we have some people constantly breaking out in it? In fact, for some people, it doesn't happen on their face. The face is the most common place where you find acne. But for a lot of people, you also find it on their backs. You know, I think the back is another very popular destination for acne. You just find it on the back. And then, what exactly are whiteheads and blackheads? Are they a result of the acne, or that's another different type of skin condition?
No, they're actually components of the acne.
Okay.
You can have blackhead, you can have whiteheads. Some go ahead to even form nodules. It all depends on the stage of the acne. So all are all components of the acne. And as you clearly said, they have distributions in any part of the body, not everywhere, but mainly you can find them on the face, chest, shoulders, and your back, the upper back. So those are the distributions of the acne.
Why do some of us break out in it and some of us, I mean, you hear people saying, oh, if I go near roasted ground nuts, I'm in trouble, I'm just going to break out. And then some others can just eat whatever oily thing. For some others, they will tell you that, no, I can't go near oil. And then some people can just eat about everything and anything that they want and not break out. What makes the difference? Does age make a difference? Genetics, does it make a difference? And then there are people who, even when they break out, I mean, they use almost everything under the sun and nothing helps them. Why?
For the treatment of acne or breakouts of acne, generally, you have to understand your body. Everybody has different genetic composition. So the way someone responds to a particular food will be different from the same way another person also responds from the same type of food. So you have to know what works for you. If you are allergic to a particular type of food, or if you are allergic to a particular type of anything that you just know that you're allergic to, so you can be able to avoid it and know how to deal with that particular acne. Even age based on like it's hormone based, and because of the effect of the hormones, hormonal changes like women during their cycle, because of the change in the hormone, it also affects breakouts too. So all those changes in hormone, like based on menopause, or maybe you're pregnant, you're about to see your cycle, those hormonal changes affect breakouts in acne. So there are a lot of factors
That affect it.
yes.
Okay, I was going to ask, what if you're not... Okay, what about men who sometimes get covered in acne? One would think that most of the time is women who struggle with this, but sometimes you see men who are covered, I mean, their faces are covered with acne, and you begin to wonder, is it the same hormonal imbalance, or, issues that you just highlighted that is happening for those men too, or what could be going on there?
Well, for the men that have acne, anybody can have acne, either the men or the women. But the issue here is for the men, they can have some conditions in their body because you have to understand what actually makes the acne to form. You have, like, if the skin is being infected and there are clogs on the pores, you can have like acne formation there. So anything that can result to any all those clogging on the skin, over the skin, irrespective of your gender, it can still affect you. So for the men, some might be using some cream that blocks and clogs, or as a reason of infection, it can also block and clog those areas that are supposed to be secreting naturally. Definitely, they have to develop acne.
Mm.
So there's no actual difference in the sex because you're a woman and you have hormones that are being altered monthly or maybe during the course of your life span, then that means you are not going to have the acne. Or because of the men, okay, you don't have the estrogens or the hormones that the women have, means that you're not supposed to have acne. So anything apart from hormones can also cause acne formation.
Let's move on to another one that seems to be quite common, and in fact nowadays you see it in, younger and younger subjects. I'm talking about stretch marks. For some people, you'll find them, they're almost imperceptible, like you can be staring at them and not really see those stretch marks. And then for some others, it's like someone took a whip to them and beat them, and welts have formed, and so they come out thick, and for a lot of people also affects self-esteem. They might not want to dress the way they want to dress because they feel that there's the stretch marks are unsightly. What causes stretch marks, and is it something that can be gotten rid of?
Stretch marks generally is due to stretching, rapid stretching of the skin. Like someone wants to lose weight, you lose weight rapidly. With the stretching of the skin, you have the stretch mark. Or you add weight rapidly, then the skin is also going to expand and you're going to have the stretch marks. So most of the time, it's always common among all this group of people, maybe people that are obese, people that have lost weight, maybe due to illnesses or any kind of medications they're on. Maybe like you're doing your chemotherapy or you're on some terminal illness or something like that. You can also have the stretch mark. But what actually happens here is that it's actually difficult for the stretch mark to disappear completely. It doesn't disappear completely. The only thing is that it can just be less visible to the eyes. It can just be less visible. Maybe people that try to lose weight, you see that the scars now become less visible, but it doesn't disappear.
What then do we say about teenagers, where you find teenagers, with stretch marks already on their bodies? What could be responsible? I mean, because what you described right now, one would be looking at a certain age group of people, adults, people who are mature. But what happens when you're finding stretch marks on children?
Children or teenagers? Which of them?
Teenagers, okay.
Okay. Besides the rapid weight gain or loss of weight, there are some stretch marks that can also be physiological, like women that get pregnant and people maybe during their puberty. Because of the change in the hormones, it can also affect and make them to have stretch marks. These ones are just physiological. It's just like the natural cause. It follows through the natural cause. Or you might even see some people, they're also like on steroids. So those things also are hormone-based drugs, which can also make the skin, because it affects the skin elasticity, and make them to stretch and it to come out with the appearance of a stretch mark. So both those in their puberty period. At that cause, there are a lot of changes in their cycle, in their sexual pattern and habits. So with that, their hormones also changes. Women too that are also pregnant, as I said earlier too, during the course of pregnancy, you will notice that they might have stretch marks on their belly or their arm. So all those, will I say, like physiological, natural phenomenon that occurs in this group of people results to stretch marks.
Okay. So you're saying that for, I beg your pardon, for teenagers, one is not to worry because, I mean, it's a normal physiologic process that the body has to pass through. So with time, it will like fade out or what?
No, what I'm saying is there are some that are physiological. Example, those in their puberty, teenagers, and the pregnant women. Those, they have like hormones that are being produced at those periods, which can affect the elasticity of the skin, which will also result to the stretch marks. So most of them might just disappear eventually when all those hormones are being withdrawn from the body. But most of the times, everything might not go permanently, but it will be less visible, which is actually what people actually bother about.
Okay. Okay. All right. So we have to go on a commercial break very soon. Still with Dr. Andy Eburaja in the studio, and we're talking common skin conditions. Before we go on that quick break, Doctor, let me ask you about people who feel like something, they have tiny insects crawling on their skin. I mean, like they're always like batting away at their skin. They take a look at it and really they cannot see anything. Is it more of a mental issue, or do we really have little insects walking on the skin, or is there something going on under the skin?
From your question, you said they have the sensation of like things creeping under the skin, but no visible.
On the skin, actually.
Yeah.
They feel like they're tiny insects. So you see them. I mean, I've met like two people, I think, who bat away at their skin. You know, like when I say bat away, they're always like this. They're always touching and, you know, trying to. There's that sensation. They tell you that, oh, they feel like, you know, like they have really tiny or like something feathery on their skin. And I'm wondering, is there something going on the skin itself, or are we looking at something that is emanating from another part of the body like the brain?
Skin diseases, as I mentioned earlier, are actually visual clinical diagnosis. It's something you can see with your eyes. So it's not something you assume in your brain. So
What if you can feel it? Like,
yeah,
because obviously these people are feeling it.
despite feeling it, you have to be able to see it. Because if you see a dermatologist, that's the specialty. You just have to be able to see it. If you have the feeling, then such a person would have to go for more clinical evaluation to find out if it's actually a systemic, that means it's all over the body, systemic skin illness, or the person just has it in his brain or her brain.
I jumped right off the bat. Maybe what I should have done was also ask what comprises of the skin. What makes up our skin? What this thing that we're seeing, what is it made up of?
The skin has like basically three major layers. You have the outer layer, which is the epidermis, where you have like some melanin and keratocytes. You have the inner layer, which is the dermis, and you have the innermost layer, which is the subcutaneous tissue. So basically, you have like three layers that makes up the skin. So within the inner layer, you have that's where you have your sweat glands and your sebaceous glands, and they help to do a lot of things. They protect you from chemical injuries, physical injuries. They also give you thermoregulation. They try to regulate your temperature. They also, we know about that for cosmetics too, psychosocial too. They also help for that. Then also it also acts as a lubricant too. It also helps for production of vitamin D, which is useful for the body, for the bones, and then
It absorbs that for
yes,
us
then also water regulation
in the
so
body.
yes, so those are the things the skin basically does for us. So those are the major layers in the skin.
Which one do we see? Which one am I looking at right now as I'm looking at you?
The epidermis.
The epidermis.
Yes.
Okay, so why do some people have dry epidermis and some others have oily epidermis? What what is responsible for that?
For the dry and the
Yeah, some people just have dry skin. I was just trying to be funny when I was saying epidermis, but some people have dry skin and some people have oily skin. So I'm just wondering, if we all have those three layers, what is responsible for those differences? Because some people will tell you that some skin conditions happen to people who have oily skin more than those who have dry skin, and some others they will tell you happens to people who have dry skin more than those who have oily skin. So I'm just wondering what causes for some people to have dry skin and for some others to come with oily skin.
Besides genetic makeup of every individual, there are some other factors that might make some people to have like a dry skin, oily skin. Your environment can affect you, how your skin, the appearance of your skin, your environment can affect you, which can be that the climatic environment or the kind of things you are using, or your environment generally, kind of things you're using, because you being in a humid environment or you being in a non-humid environment can affect the appearance of your skin. Definitely if you go to somewhere, because even as our own genetic makeup based on we as Africans or the Westerners is always different. So we don't expect they have like a dry skin or are supposed to have like an oily skin. So that's why I said the genetic makeup is also very, very important. Then apart from that, other things you also use. People use like lots of cream. They use this, they use that. Some use Vaseline, some use oily cream and everything. And you apply this in over time, definitely it's going to affect how your skin is going to look.
Okay. All right, still with Dr. Andy Eburaja. Let's go on this quick commercial break, and when we get back, we'll be taking questions. I've still not seen any question yet, but I will take them as they come. Let's go on this break. Do stay with us. It's Your Health 360. 8.9 FM with Jacqueline at Davy Job. Well, thank you so much for staying with us. We're back right here in the studio with Dr. Andy Eburaja, and we've been talking about common skin conditions that affect you and I. What questions do you have? If you have any time for you to speak with Dr. Andy Eburaja, you could ask him, even though he has told us that particularly about the skin, most of the time it's better that you see what you're dealing with before you can put a name to it. All right, so the lines are open and the numbers are 081 40,000 989. Once again, that's 081 40,000 989. And then we have 070 87 800 989. Once again, that's 070 87 800 989. Do not forget that we are live on Facebook, and of course we want to encourage all our beloved listeners to please go on YouTube and like our channel and subscribe. Just like our videos, subscribe, and so that each new video that comes up, you will get a notification. Every one of your favorite programs is on that channel, so please do go there. The last time I checked, I saw that you had done some good work where our subscribers had increased. We need for it to increase even more, because on our Facebook page we have more than 11,000 of you, and so if all of you could please just go on YouTube and like our pages, or our page, our channel, that would be nice. Let's take this call. Hello, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Welcome.
Thank you. Doctor calling from television.
Dorcas, it's good to have you on the program this evening. Go ahead with your question.
Please, for a kid, is there any cream that we use for them, or this shea butter is good for them? And again, what causes a body odor?
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dr. Andy is taking that down. He will answer you. Let's take another call. So you're
Oh,
asking cream, the best cream for young children,
it's,
You know what?
and then,
yes, ma.
Which case?
The
oh,
cause
okay,
of body
ask her
Which
what.
case?
odor.
Which of the cases?
She's okay. Which one of the situations are we talking? Okay, she's gone, but she did ask what is best for the skin of children. She also asked what might be responsible for body odor. So that she's asking. All right, still taking your calls this evening, and the numbers are 081 and 07087 800 989. Well, when your calls come in, you can, like I said, you can also send in a text message to the number 09072703270. Once again, that's 09072703270. All right, while we're waiting for those calls to come in, Dr. Buraja, she was asking, Dorcas was asking about, the skin of children. What is best for children? I must tell you, doctor, that I have actually met a woman who started using creams, and I'm talking creams that can actually tone the skin. I don't want to use the word bleach, but like tone the skin for children who are just 7. We have another call. Let's take this. Hello, good evening.
Good evening. You are speaking with Mr. Akpabi from Dale Barrack.
You're welcome, Mr. Akpabio. Go ahead.
Please, for years now, I've been having reaction on my skin when I'm taking cold water, when I'm taking a bath with cold water, or during the Harmattan season like this. If I'm exposed to cold, my body will be itching me, and will be showing some reaction on my body. But that years is going to take maybe like 5 to 10 minutes. The thing will go down. So I don't really know what to diagnose so that I can really see how I can treat. I've been suffering from it. I started experiencing this thing since 2011 in Plateau State during cold time, because that was my first time of going to the place. I've been managing it like that till today. Anytime I'm going out with cold, I have to cover up some my body, my
If
hand.
not, you'll
If
start
not
itching.
so, it will start itching. Anything, whether inside the rain, maybe rain fall on me, you see the reaction all over my body. So I've been just thinking, I don't know
When it starts to
if there is
itch,
any
does
way.
it swell?
It will swell up some. You see some rashes coming up from the skin, somehow red in the shows on red. If I'm scratching it, you'll be showing some red signs like that. But later, the thing will just go down on its own.
Okay. That must be mighty uncomfortable. All right, Mr. Akpabio, Dr. Eburaja will answer you. Thank you so much for calling this evening. All right.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Akpabio. Coming back to you, Dr. Eburaja, you've heard them. Mr. Akpabio was asking why he has this reaction whenever it's cold or the rain falls on him. He breaks out into, some form of swelling after a lot of itching. And let's not forget Dorcas, who was asking about the best cream or the best thing to use to moisturize a young child's skin. And then, of course, body odor. What causes it?
I think I'll start from the last caller, where he talked about having reactions to his skin during Harmattan and during cold, when he bathes with cold water. Once you have those kind of reactions, redness, itching, it comes up and after a while it disappears. The major cause of those kind of reactions are allergy. So he's allergic to something. So maybe like during the Hamatan, it might be the dust or the haziness of the weather affects his skin and he sees all those reactions. Even when he's exposed to like cold water, then he has all those reactions. Most of the times they are like genetic compositions in the body. So it's something that is like inherited. If he checks his family tree, maybe there might be a history of allergy in the family. Maybe some of them might be asthmatic, some might be itching their eyes, or maybe you just have a bite and it raises up from your skin compared to when other people have bites. So you have to be able to identify all those things because most of the times anything that has to do with allergy is actually not so easy to treat. You can just manage it by taking some group of drugs. Maybe when you're exposed and you have all those reactions on your skin, you take those group of drugs to subside the response of the skin to what you're being exposed to. So the best choice of treatment is you can use some group of drugs. We class them as antihistamine group of drugs. You use them. Some go ahead to also apply steroids over the surface of the skin condition. Some also go ahead to do what you call hyper exposure, like hypersensitization. That means if you are being allergic to this particular thing, you expose yourself more to that particular substance so that your body gets desensitized. But you still have different school of thought. So say, okay, do it. You might get into an adverse reaction. Some said it might work for you. But generally, the best thing is for you to, those things that triggers such skin disorder, it's better to just avoid them. So if you know bathing with cold water triggers it, just try and use a warm water or something that is lukewarm and have your bath. Then
How
also,
long can someone use steroids for, like steroid creams? I heard it's not too healthy to use them long term.
those group of drugs or cream has to be prescribed. So it's not something you just like buy over the counter. And because you have used it once, next time you should use it again. So those group of drugs are actually prescribed. So your doctor will actually give you a prescription and tell you the way you should be able to use the steroids so you don't have complication of long use of steroid therapy.
Okay. All right. So, Mr. Akpabio, like I said, mighty uncomfortable the way you described it. Here's hoping that you quickly seek help so that let's see if it's something that over time your body will resolve after treatment, that is. What about Dorcas, who is asking what the best form, method of treating body or what causes body odor, and then of course what's best for children. I need to answer this call, doctor, so just still hold your answer. Hello, good evening. Hello, yes, go ahead please. Unfortunately, we couldn't hear you. I see a text message coming in here. The person is saying, please, what do I do with blackheads? I have suffered so much from it. And this is from Anne in Sabo. Thank you so much, Anne. Daniel Samuel from New Millennium City is saying, good evening to our guest in the studio. Please, doctor, what are drugs advised to be taken to treat toilet infection? Okay, Daniel Samuel, even before Dr. Aburaja says anything, he cannot prescribe without seeing you. It's not done. He cannot start to reel out the names of drugs here because we abuse drugs. And that's why we have some kind of super infections nowadays that are defying the normal drugs. Okay, so I know that money is an issue for a lot of us. But honestly, if we could just get ourselves to a government hospital, just tell the doctor what's going on. I know that by the grace of God, government hospitals are still within our reach. Please go to a government hospital, Daniel. It's important that you do so. And especially because it has something to do with your reproductive system so that, you can have your babies when you want them. You need to quickly go and see a doctor, please. Please, please, and please. Sometimes what we need is just maybe even less than 500 naira. Okay, so we need to answer Dorcas's question. She called first. What is the best thing to use for a baby's skin, children's skin?
Well, for baby skin, it's better to use a mild lotion that will be comfortable and suitable for the child's skin.
Lotion? Lotion,
Mild,
like
yeah.
cream,
Yes.
mild one.
Yeah, mild
Okay.
one, not something
Okay.
that is very, very harsh on the
Okay.
skin.
What
Because there are
about
certain-
petroleum jelly? That's the one that many of us know. It's not too good.
I know people who use petroleum. You have like these Vaselines too
Yeah.
and everything. People use petroleum jelly actually. So there are a lot of creams that you can use for children. That
Shea butter is okay, right?
Yeah, they're all okay. They're all
Okay.
like mild oils
So
that we
what
can use
what
for
is
the
it about our skin that causes body odor?
For body odor, usually it's actually common among children and maybe teenagers.
I've got no doctor. A lot of adults
No,
too
no,
have
I
them.
said it's common.
Okay,
That's what I
okay.
said. Yeah, so mainly one of the things that actually affect them is actually hygiene. Very poor hygiene is one of the causes of body odor. Then those that sweat excessively also can make someone to have like body odor too. So even your climate too, whether it's hot and whether it's cold, can also make you have body odor. Some other people, it's just in their head. Maybe they have like some psychological disorder and they just feel that their body is smelling. But mainly it's actually attributed to poor hygiene. It's actually the
Okay.
cause of body odor.
So we step
And-
up hygiene for
Yeah,
this.
so when you have such conditions, you just have to regulate your bathing. You have to do it more frequently. Then you can use some deodorants or antiperspirants that reduce the secretion of your
The sweat.
the sweat in the
Okay.
body.
Okay.
Then try and also eat healthy and just be neat and change your clothes. Just hygiene
Okay.
and perspirant. Those are the major things you
Gets
just have
better.
to do. Yes.
All right. So, but we've not answered Anne too. She says that blackheads. She has suffered so much from it. What can she do?
Such a question is, actually one of the issues is when you have breakouts, it's always advised not to touch your face when you have like breakouts or acne. You get, so it's the cleaning process and the reactions of what is being expressed from the acne that results to the blackhead. So it's always advised most of the times to make sure you clean it and use like a very mild soap, not very seriously medicated soap. Just use a very mild soap on your face, clean it, and it will be able to reduce blackheads. But when you have,
Using medicated soap doesn't help, does it?
no, it doesn't help. It doesn't
It
help.
actually makes it worse.
Yeah, because actually you actually have like flores on your body. You get, so there are some medicated soaps that are actually certified by the Dermatologists Association, which are actually good for the skin. But besides those ones that are certified by them, maybe some of them might have like mercury. It actually affects the flora, which is like an organism that protects the skin from other pathogens that come in. So using all those kind of soaps just makes them, you kill them off, and other pathogens can come in and be causing a lot of issues to the skin and the body. Blackheads is always better to consult with a dermatologist. There are no different approaches, but blackheads are actually difficult to go. They can just, with treatments and with adequate consultation with your dermatologist, you have like creams they can give to you to reduce the appearance of the blackheads. After all, I know most people actually use a lot of their makeups to conceal and hide a lot of all those blackheads. Which
She
is
might
actu-
not be someone who uses makeup, so she might not want to use that option of makeup. But is there hope of a cure for blackheads, or all we can do is just cover it up, especially for us females?
There is hope, but it might be a little bit expensive. Maybe if you have money, you might want to do maybe like a laser surgery and some other things. So they're actually very expensive. If you
What
want to
about
take them off.
facials, where they steam your face and they press out all the blackheads, all the accumulated, debris inside those pores? Can it not be at least some short-term solution?
Well, I don't actually disapprove of any of all these beauty salons that want to do their skincare, because I'm sure they would have done one or two of their trainings. But In our own profession, we actually don't advise or recommend such. It's always better to see your skin doctor, and he or she will be able to give you the right choice of treatment and the right nutrients or the nutrition for you to be able to take to balance your diet.
Okay, we've run out of time, Dr. Eburaja, but let me quickly take this text message from Safia, who is asking, what is it that is always on the body of young babies that itches them and causes for their hair to fall off? You know, Doc, like I said, there's also, I think the Yorubas call it Ela. It's children come out looking very light, but it's not their skin color actually. Many times they say it's a condition, and a lot of us actually use leaves to bathe the kids to help the situation. But I think I know what Safia, I'm assuming that I know what Safia is talking about. You know, sometimes you see children, the inner part of the elbow looks very light. You know, the child looks light in some places and it itches the child. And so there's this white thing that a lot of these itinerant traders, you know, carry around. And a lot of times that's what is used on those babies. It looks like chalk, but it's chalk that stays. I don't know.
If I actually get what she's talking about, I want to describe that as an allergic reaction, because you described that it's actually distributed on around the elbows, the inner part of the elbows.
Yeah, the inner part of, you know, especially if it's a chubby baby, the back of the legs, those places where the skin meets the skin. I think this is what she's saying.
Those group of conditions, we call them contact dermatitis.
Okay.
So the flexor areas, these areas that you're able to
right.
Fold your arm or your elbow or your knee, those areas, because of the contacts there are some little reactions that go on there, and it's now showing us all those little rashes you see, and some of them can be itchy. So it's actually a contact dermatitis. Due to the contact, there's irritation, and it now comes and forms those skin disorders.
All right. Okay, so of course there's solution.
Yes, there's a solution. Yes, there is.
Okay, this person says mine was eczema. Sometimes it will come, but when I use a certain skin cream, it will go, but later on it will come back. So we have something that keeps going and coming back, and this is from Kauna in Narai.
You know, we didn't clearly identify what, because I'm sure the eczema is just like a broad term that is used by different people.
A lot of us to describe different things.
So, as I said earlier, skin disorders are actually visual, clinical diagnosis. The best thing for her to do, since she has been using a lot of creams, she should just try and see if she can get in touch with a dermatologist. They'll be able to diagnose her skin condition and give her appropriate treatments that will offer her a better solution.
Okay, it's at this point that we have to let you go, even though we see there are a lot of calls coming in at this time. The people want to talk to you. Hopefully, we've been able to answer some questions. If not, please get to a doctor, especially Daniel, who sent a text message in every time that it has something to do with reproductive health. I always tell people, go quickly. Oh, it's very, very important. Go quickly. It's very, very important. Dr. Andy Eburaja, thank you so much. It was great hearing and learning from you this evening.
Thank you so much, Jacqueline.
Until next week, remember that your skin is a very, very important part of you. Let's not use creams that are going to damage the skin. Let's build it up. Let's eat well as best as we can in these economic climes, and we'll be fine. We'll get through. Remain healthy, remain victorious. Stay with us right here on Invicta 98.9.